Let's do it. How are you doing?
Doing good. Trying to stay busy. All this Corona stuff has made this year interesting, to say the least, but good. Other than that,
Yeah, but you've kept busy from the looks of it.
yeah, trying to. What about you? How things been?
They've been just chilling.
Yes.
I
saw
literally hit.
what?
What were we gonna say?
Oh, I just was gonna say I saw the Night of Adventure. Everyone was talking about, you possibly doing something else with that. That's pretty cool. Maybe a
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with that. They always say there's a sequel, and I'm like, I don't know where that's coming
They're
from.
hopeful.
So my response to that is no, there's something better, and hopefully there is something better. So
I'm sure there is.
no, but as far as quarantine goes, I've just been stuck in my apartment. I
Yeah.
know the other night I actually went on a 5 mile walk for the first time.
You're like, this is amazing.
It was amazing, but it almost killed me. Like my legs are still sore. So
Oh,
it
well, that's
worth it,
not good. Probably means you don't get out enough. Man, if I do not get out into nature at least like every day, I feel like I'm gonna go crazy. I need to be outside, just like, yeah, I can't be inside that long.
That's how I am. It makes me stir crazy, and then I start like overanalyzing, overthinking. I'm just like, this is not healthy. Like I have to get out.
Been there many times.
But
I think we're good at that as artists. I think that's like part of what makes us good at what we do, but also part of what makes us go crazy is that our minds do work like that. It's very active, like always going, always.
Yeah, like very much internalizing everything and then trying to like paint it onto like other experiences.
Yeah.
Like, how can this better my craft, even though we're stuck in quarantine?
Second guessing everything all the time.
Yeah, things will get better this year, right?
Sure, yeah. Where are we at? August? Gosh. Next month for sure.
Oh, shit. And that's the thing, too, is like I love the fall. And so there's a lot of people mad about the summer because they love the summer. And that seems like it's one thrown away. But I love the fall. And right now, it's been not hopeful. So we'll see. If it's cleared up somehow by a miracle by Halloween, like, I will be the happiest guy on earth. But
right. That would be amazing. Oh, I know. I actually so living in Florida, I lived in Florida before, and there's no seasons there, right? It's like hot and then hotter and then humid and then really hot. And then it's like, oh, okay, we'll cool down a tiny bit. So coming back to Utah, I just love it because there's always something different. Like you have spring, and then after spring, it gets hot for the summer, and then cozy fall, and then the snowy winter. Like, I love Utah seasons.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful state in that sense, I've never been to Florida. I always read stories about Florida's batshit crazy. I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like livelihood there? It's just Florida.
Man puts alligator on leash and takes it for a walk, like something ridiculous.
Yeah, and like there was a game for a while. I think it was a meme on Facebook, but like if you research like Florida man does this and you type in your birth date, like there's always something that pops up. I think mine was like some guy tried to kill his wife over a potato. Like it was just like, okay, Florida.
I wish I could say that isn't true, but I feel like it is. Florida was always just a little bit out of control, but in the best way possible.
But did you live there, or have you lived in Utah your whole life?
No, I lived in Florida for 5.5 years. So
what?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
I had no idea.
It was before you met me. So yeah, my husband was in the military and we were stationed out there. So we were out there for about 5.5 years.
Oh shit.
Right.
So when we met, how long were you in the state or in Utah for then?
Oh man, I just barely hit, last month was 3 years of being back in Utah. So really not that long. When I moved back to Utah, though, I dived in like head first, really as fast as I could back into like anything I could do with acting, singing, music. I had missed it so much. And the area we were in didn't have a lot out there for that. So when I got back, I was like, let's go. Let's get the ball rolling. Like I was ready. So I think it was actually a good thing. I was sad I had to take a step back from the arts. But I think that and I'm hoping it'll be the same thing with COVID, but I think that when you don't have something and when your options are limited, all of a sudden when that's opened back up to you, you're extra motivated. Like you just really want to go for it. So that was my mindset.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very great mindset to have. Especially because with me, like, so I like taking photography, on the side.
Yeah.
And I went out a couple weeks ago with Emily to take some photos of like neon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because the summer before that, I was all about photography, like night photography, like every other weekend or, like at least once a month in the summer.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting getting back into it because I'm like, this is like the first time I've been out, number one. And like, it was weird not having that same like interested motivation.
Yeah.
And then once I saw the outcome of the photos, I'm like, this is why I do it.
Like the creativity, I needed this.
I needed it. I needed a spark. And like, like a few weeks ago, I finished like the first draft of the script that I've been working on for over a year. And so that felt like
Woo,
motivating.
I know, I saw that. Congrats to you. That's a huge accomplishment.
I know. Thank you.
You're like, thank you. Thank you.
So, hey, let's introduce you. Have you introduced yourself?
Oh, man. Well, my name is Mary Hall. I am an actress and a singer. That's me.
That's Mary.
That's me.
Yeah. So some backstory is that you and I worked together, at least twice.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times. But one was a horror project that never saw the light of day.
Hey, but we had a lot of fun working on it still. That was a learning experience for everyone.
Yeah, especially that getting a makeup artist from the very start would probably save us a lot of headaches.
Yeah, well, lessons have been learned.
Oh, definitely. The creativity of how we try to pull off certain stuff with the lack of makeup, I think is pretty cool. Like I thought we were pretty creative.
Well, plus, I mean, we were all just getting better at our craft. I think if you love what you do, even if stuff doesn't come to fruition, you still have fun with it. You're still learning. It's the important part, I think. But
yeah, and then you also had a small part in my short film. And
yes. Night of Adventure.
Night of Adventure, yep. And your parts, there's like a scene at the party. It's like one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. I kid you not. And like, because like your character didn't have like a huge story to it, but there was like that huge backstory behind it, which I really liked. Yeah. But like there's like a reaction where you realize that like Casey's character is there and like your whole demeanor changes. And like, I absolutely love that every single time because it's so damning.
I had that real like bitch face, the look that I throw at him. I remember before you even released it, you're like, do you want to see this? And you sent it to me. You're like, look at this face you give him. It was awesome.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's like one of my favorite things. And just like every time I see like, because like your whole posture kind of changes, like it kind of reminds me of Toni Collette in Hereditary, where she's like screaming bloody murder. And then like all of a sudden like her whole demeanor changes where it's like straight face and like just horrifying. Like and like that was yours, like because like you're so casual at the party, and like once you see him, like I mean, it's just like a blink of an eye. You're just like, ew, like what's he doing here?
Right, which is ironic because like I was the one that had done something wrong. Like, why am I mad? That wasn't even his fault.
Yeah, you're just kind of annoyed that you had to deal with that, But I loved it.
Typecasted for characters like that a lot, like the ex-girlfriend, like the very just snooty. I mean, it must be something about my face.
No, because like you don't have a resting bitch face. That's the thing. Like, I think if I remember correctly, we got you to do that because we couldn't find somebody. It was like kind of like a last second thing on our end.
It was a last minute thing, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact you pulled through with it, and like I think it looks great. And like even like when you're walking out of the house, because it was a very chaotic shooting day. Yeah. Because we shot all of your stuff in one day, but. I mean, you were at my house, and we had to go to Landon's house for the exterior stuff. Then we had to go back to my house for all the night stuff, and like
back and forth. It was a lot.
It was back and forth. It was a lot, and like seeing how you pull through with that, like I love it because like seriously, like you have so many parts in there that I just absolutely love. So.
Hey, well, I've always loved working with you and Landon and the entire group. So.
Oh, shucks. All right, so you are. So I didn't know this about you. I didn't know you sing.
I know. I was so surprised that you didn't know that. Yeah,
you posted something on your Instagram singing, and I'm like, like what?
Surprise!
Like, how long have you been singing for?
So I actually started singing before I even got into acting.
Okay.
Honestly, from the time I was really little, I started playing the piano, and I was a little bit self-taught, and I took a few years of lessons, and I did a little more self-teaching. and I started playing the piano, writing my own music. For me, it was really good outlet. I had a lot of kind of like family chaos and just a lot going on. So for me, that was the way for me to like, I don't know, get it all out of my system. So yeah, I started singing, writing my own music, and then throughout school, I kind of followed that typical progression. So I did the plays in school and drama and the musicals and all of that, and then I kind of just kept doing it. I sang at a lot of festivals, and then obviously I got married and I took a break. And when I came back, when I hopped back into my music is when I started up with more of the film acting, commercial acting. But yeah, I've done a few songs that have been features that have been released, and I guess a lot of people still don't know that about me. I've posted about it a lot, but maybe I should have made it more clear, like, hey, this is my voice. I'm actually singing here.
Yeah, no, I like hearing that. I was just so like, I don't know, I was mind fucked. I was just like, what? Like Mary sings too, because I mean, like when I said that, like I've seen you've been busy, is because like not only have you been working on that, but like it looks like you've been cast in some short films.
Yeah.
And so seeing you post all that and like on top of the singing, I'm like, holy shit, like she's actually still being productive during quarantine. Like kudos.
Man, I think that I've tried to have a semi-positive mindset about it. It's easy to feel like especially acting and anything in the film industry, these are our busiest months of the year. So to have the busiest months of the year be when quarantine was hitting its peak, I was like, what in the hell are we going to do? Like, it's not great. But for me personally, I just wanted to stay active myself physically. So it was a good opportunity for me to do that. And what do they always say? Like, control over your body, and like your body's health is control over your life. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's psychological stuff. But yeah, I have also been really, really lucky though that I just know a lot of awesome people that during quarantine were able to still follow like the guidelines and be safe and have smaller productions where I was able to still get some work. And then when things started opening up a little bit more, it just kept progressing. So I've been really lucky. I feel really fortunate actually, staying busy.
Yeah. I want to go back to your piano playing. So
Yes.
when you learned to play piano, like were you classically trained or piano lessons, self-taught maybe?
So I started out self-taught, and then when I showed an interest in it, my grandparents at the time I was living with them, they actually had me take lessons for about a year and a half. And let me tell you, I was not a great student. I know a lot of kids are like that, and looking back, I'm like, man, why did you not just stick with it? So I can read sheet music, but for me, I'm better at just listening to a song and picking it up by ear. And then obviously, when I'm playing my own music, I don't have to follow any rules. I can just do what sounds good. So mostly self-taught with like 2 to 3 years of actual piano lessons, but by no means am I anything like fancy at all.
It's more than I can do. So I play guitar and I took lessons for a couple years, but at one point I transcribed like the guitar tabs, I guess, essentially. Mm-hmm. I transcribed those to the piano, and that's kind of how I learned where the notes are in the piano, was doing that. But yeah, I'm rough with it. I can't read notes at all. So I'm always jealous when people are like, oh, I read notes. I'm like, that's one thing I'm still YouTubing.
See, I tried to learn how to play the guitar. My dad got me a beautiful 6-string acoustic, and I did okay for the first little bit, but I think guitar is so much harder than piano. And I've heard that it's like one or the other. Either you think piano is hard or you think guitar is hard. And I'm definitely the one that was like, guitar was hard for me.
Yeah. Well, and like sing pianos or pianist and even guitar players for that matter, like going over the fretboard or over the keyboard, and like.
That's not me.
Somehow,
no.
Somehow I've noticed like some pianists and guitarists have like these long ass elongated fingers. And I'm like, if you don't have that, like you can't pull off that maneuver, period. Like
I have piano hands. I have like ridiculously long piano fingers.
String cheese fingers,
I
call
love
them.
the piano.
Do you have a favorite like genre of music then? Because from what I've heard, like it's kind of pop. That the song is kind of poppy. So
I consider myself like a pop singer. That's my vocal type. As far as a favorite genre, I feel like I have the most eclectic and varying taste of music. I could go from listening to like Italian opera to Disney music to like metal music, no joke. So I feel like I have an appreciation for a little bit of everything, honestly. There's not one genre that I'm like, yes, I love that. One thing that I used to not care for, but I've gotten better with it, was country music. I was always like, I am not a country music fan, but there can be good to be found in that genre as well, I guess.
Yeah, my mom raised me on country music. That's all she listened
same.
to growing up.
I was raised on that.
And now, so I'm more of a metal guy myself. Like I like the rock and roll and like even like the indie folk, I guess, kind of music.
Mhm.
But when I listen to country now, like on the radio, I'm just like, it sounds so poppy and not even country. Like it's not even like Toby Keith country anymore. You know, like it's evolved to like some sort of pop country.
See, when I listened to country growing up, it was like Leanne Rimes, Shania Twain, Jody Messina. We're talking like the real country. And now it's like Taylor Swift's pop country, which is, she doesn't even sing country anymore, but she definitely started out a country singer.
No, she did, yeah. And she's actually one of the singers, like pop artists I actually like. Like whenever she has a new album, I'll jam out to it because I'm like, and part of me is like, why can't I date her so she can write a breakup song about me? Right? Like that'd be great. I'd feel honored.
Poor Taylor Swift, man. People have always been really, really brutal to her.
For sure. And like I think I started paying attention to her when she's like, "Look What You Made Me Do," that song, because it was throwing so much shade. And I'm like, girl, you go for it. Like you throw the shade. Yeah.
Was that after the Kanye West, Kim Kardashian thing?
I think so, yeah.
Some sort of a beef. I didn't even ever look into it because I was like, whatever. But something about a phone call and like someone was talking crap on someone and I don't know, typical.
It's always something like that. Yeah. And like, because with beefs, I usually know it's between rap artists. So like when Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly were going at it, right? And I'm like, yo, this is like somebody's career suicide.
Who do you feel like won that though?
Eminem? Oh, hardcore.
Oh, absolutely, right? Yeah. Everyone was trying to be like, oh, Machine Gun Kelly took that. I'm like, no, he didn't.
Because like Machine Gun Kelly had like some good stuff, right? Like he had some good lines and like his music was catchy.
And I like Machine Gun Kelly. Don't get me wrong. He has some good stuff, but
then Eminem comes out and like people are like, well, why doesn't he respond in like a week? I'm like, you just wait. Like he's gonna release, and he released. I'm like, yep, he didn't hold back.
Nope. Never does. That's one of my favorite things about Eminem. He just does not give like zero shits to be given ever.
Yep.
You gotta wonder what he's like in real life as a person. I always wonder about that. I'm like, I wonder what he's really like. Is he a dick? Is he nice? You know?
Awkward. I could see him being awkward, where he's like awkwardly quiet. I don't know. Would you be intimidated talking to him? Let's ask that question.
Would I be intimidated?
I'd be intimidated.
I would be. No, I feel like that would make him mad. Like if I was a huge successful celebrity like he is, I mean, we're talking holy shit amazingness. I think it would make me mad if people treated me differently. I'd be like, I'm normal, like just treat me normal. But I mean, he could be one of those people that's like, I am better than you. You better treat me better than everyone else. So I don't know. I'd probably be nervous.
I don't know either, because the one celebrity that I've ran into that got stuck in a situation, right, was Karl Malone from the Utah Jazz. And I was in an elevator with him and I realized, yeah. And like, I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm like 6'4", you know, like pretty decent height. Like it's not like, it's above average from my understanding.
Like me, like 5'3".
Yeah. And so he's like 6'9", maybe. And so I had to look up to him. But then, like, he's as broad as he is, like, as he is tall. Like, he's wide, you know? And so, like, I was literally, like...
Was he intimidating?
Yeah, when I was so starstruck. And so I was, like, looking at my feet, and I could just tell he was, like, staring at me. So I glanced up, and he's like, how you doing? And
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm good. And then I just, like, looked down, and, like, I got off the wrong floor because I'm, like, I couldn't deal with, like, me being starstruck. I had to call my friend.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and I had to call my friend who's a huge Utah Jazz fan. I'm like, dude, I just ran into Karl Malone. He's like, did you guys talk? And I'm like, oh, like,
did you get his autograph? No.
Is that a thing?
You're like, I didn't even remember what day it was. Like, I don't even know what happened.
But I like what you said though. Like, I mean, they are humans, and they probably like to be treated as such. And it was interesting because I was talking to my friend Taylor Deuce, who's on a few episodes ago. And he was talking about how his wife works in a shop in California because they moved out there.
Mhm.
And like every day they just see celebrities come in.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize like, oh, they're just people. Like acting is
Normal.
their job and they are
Yeah.
just people. And like, yeah, like that it's that weird.
There are some
curtain being lifted.
celebrities that really want to be treated like extra, but then I know a lot of them also talk and they're just like, they want to have normal lives. But I guess, and everyone says, oh, that's what you sign up for. If you decide to become famous and be a celebrity, then that's what you signed up for. And while I agree to an extent, I also disagree with that. And I'm like, there still has to be some level of respect for them as a human being.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
boundaries.
There's boundaries. And like, I wonder if they'd have more respect if you didn't even acknowledge like how famous they are, you know, like if you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, hey dude, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing
Yeah.
good. You know, like how much more down to earth can you be at that point? But
Right.
is there an artist that you hope to meet one day? Like that you aspire to meet one day?
Are we talking like singer, musician, or actor, or just anyone?
Whoever in the field.
Man, I feel like there's so many for so many different reasons. People that I would want to meet. Okay, I'm going to totally say this and no one judge me. Yes, I have watched Vampire Diaries. I would love to meet Nina Dobrev. And I don't know why. I'm just so fascinated by her. I don't even know. But Nina Dobrev is like someone I always really wanted to meet. Classics, though, of course. Sandra Bullock. I loved her so much in Miss Congeniality. Jennifer Aniston. Really anyone from Friends I would love to meet. But yeah. I don't know. There's so many. One that I did meet, now it wasn't one-on-one, it was in a work situation, but when they filmed the Bud Light commercial here in Utah, they filmed it in North Ogden with Post Malone.
Posty, yep.
Yes. And so I was there doing just like background bar patron stuff. And man, he is so nice. Like so kind, very polite. I mean, he rolls up in his car and his entourage is with him, right? And one of them's driving like a Lamborghini and he was driving, oh, I cannot even remember what it's called now. I don't even remember, but they open up the doors and you can just like smell the billowing smoke. And it was just hilarious because he's just like so chill and so nice. And yeah, he's probably the nicest celebrity I've ever met, like just very kind and almost really shy as well. So when he's doing his scenes and stuff, he'd be like, guys, stop looking at me. Like it was just adorable. Which is funny because he's all tatted out.
Yeah, well, a lot of the photos that people have posted with him, because from my understanding, he lives in Utah.
Yeah.
Or has a house in
here.
Utah.
Yeah, right.
And which is cool. I'm like, cool, dude. I don't know why, but cool. Of all the places, cool. But all the interactions that, you know, we see on Facebook or Twitter of people that we know meeting him randomly at a gas station or in the store, like he's always just so chill. Like he's just
really
like,
positive, yeah. Interactions.
I'm like the one thing that I had was like I think it was Travis Pastrana, the motorcycle dude.
Oh yeah, Supercross guy.
Yeah, he came into my like this restaurant I worked at one point. And the manager was like, you guys got to keep it chill. You guys can't go bug him. And then, of course, we broke the rules and kind of crowded him. He probably didn't like it, but I mean, that was like one of the other famous ones. But for me, I don't know. Movie-wise, I'd probably be like Denis Villeneuve just because he's a great director.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, he's a director. I was like, is he an actor? I don't even know who that is. Now I feel foolish.
Actor would be Brad Pitt. Like, I want to meet Brad Pitt one day.
Seems
like
Pitt.
such a chill
iconic.
dude.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, I wouldn't mind meeting Brad Pitt either. Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And then I think musician-wise, it'd probably be James Hetfield from Metallica.
Yeah? That would be who?
I would be so down for that, yeah. Like a
would
day
you
of
be
hanging
so
out.
starstruck?
Yeah.
You'd be like, I don't even know what to say right now.
Because there's one point when I saw them live in 2008, because they are my favorite band, Metallica is, but I saw them in 2008 as my first concert ever.
Very
front
cool.
row, and you know, there's like a lot of people there, but like there's a point when he like laughed what I took at me, even though it's probably just in our general area, but like
we're gonna say it was at you.
Exactly right.
You guys
and then,
had a
like,
moment.
Yeah, and then I even touched like the bassist's hand because he came over to like give handshakes between songs, and like it was great. Yeah,
That's really
but
cool, actually.
it just like doing that and being like, yo, like you've impacted my life in this some
Yeah.
way. Like that'd be really cool. But then again, like they probably just want to be like chilled out and not idolized as gods.
I love musicians because I feel like you get a better look into who musicians are versus actors, because musicians, when they're writing their music, it's very personal. It's usually based off of very personal events, a lot of personal feelings. So I feel like you can get a better idea sometimes, I guess not always, of who they are versus like actors are always playing a different character. So it's hard to picture who they are as like a real life individual versus all the characters they've played. But one artist I really like that I would probably really want to meet is NF. I don't know if you've ever listened to NF.
I have, yeah.
So I love his backstory. He had like a really traumatic childhood. He's very open about it, but I love bottom to the top stories, like where people have come from really, really troubling circumstances. They had every opportunity to just be nothing in life, be no one in life, but they used that as extra motivation to be successful and make something. And I don't know, I'm all about that type of story, like rising to the top.
It's exciting. Like it's very like it ignites some sort of thing within you, to be like, if they can do that, I can do that kind of a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think I've heard one song of his. It's on my favorites on Spotify, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's called. But when it comes on, I jam out to it.
There's so many of his I like. He actually just barely in the last year really gained a lot of momentum. So I've been listening to him for about 5 years now. And then over the last year, he had, let's see if I can find it. It's going to bug me the entire time we're on this call. He had his one song, Lie, that hit the radios and just like exploded. And now, I mean, world tours and awesome.
Here he is.
Yep, here he is.
So when you write, do you relate to that then, like writing about personal experiences, or like how do you kind of get inspired to write songs?
Very much about personal experiences. Yeah, I would say most like writers are that way. Most of the time it was when I was younger, it was when anything that I felt like was traumatic or really upsetting, automatically my first thing was I wanted to put it into a song. And then it kind of shifted as I got older. I started getting into writing poetry. Obviously not anything I've ever shared with anyone. It's a very personal thing for me. But when I was writing poetry and writing out all these different things on my phone, I started turning that into music. So it can go either way. I can sit down at the piano and start playing a melody and then just kind of feel what words come to me. Or I can have a very specific thing in mind that's either been bothering me or like I just need to get out of my system. And I can like write out the words first and then find a melody that matches it. But I don't know, everyone has a different way of doing things. And I know a lot of artists as well, they don't even bother with, like they have a persona, right? So they don't even bother with real life stuff. Some people just want to have this persona and they want to be like, a lot of rappers do it, like, I'm a bala, riding on these rims, like, I don't know. But for me, it definitely is a really personal thing.
Yeah, because I've written poetry a few times. And yeah, it's personal. Like I don't really like sharing that side because it's really like, ooh, this is who I am.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to see that.
Yeah, and so question for you when you're writing, because this might seem kind of abstract, but
okay.
When you're writing, do you focus more on the emotion, or is there like an image that comes to mind that kind of sparks it? Like a scene keeps playing out in your mind.
It's a little bit of both. I would probably say it's more emotion, but I also think in terms of like music videos. So whenever I'm writing a song, I always have it pictured in my mind what I would be doing like during this music video. Like, oh, I'm walking up the canyon and all of a sudden she throws out her arms and she's spinning in a circle and there's like an air shot of her and her eyes are closed. Like I have it. It's this whole encompassing like picture But it definitely, I think, plays off of more the emotion, what I'm feeling, and that kind of translates into everything else, the music, the piano, the writing. So
Yeah. So like when you think of this music video and like let's say you actually like write out the song and then like you
mhm,
produce the song, it's a long
mhm.
process, it's kind of like
Yeah,
making a movie, like how there's like so many steps you have to take to see the
so many.
final product. Do you have like a director you work with that does the music videos for you? Like do you have like certain directors in mind who can get that vision, or like how do you go about that?
Not necessarily. I really have not done a whole lot of my own producing. I've done a lot of features. I have a ton of music written, but it's hard with music, and I'm sure a lot of people that write music can relate to this. When you're starting out in acting, you can be a background person and at least you're making money, right? Like you may be spending 12 hours a day and someone sees like one piece of your hair on screen, but at least you're making money and slowly gaining like momentum. Versus with music, it is putting so much time and money into it and then really essentially getting nothing back for the first X amount of years, right? So I really haven't had the opportunity to actually get a lot of my own stuff produced yet. But I do have a few people that I worked with pretty consistently. I don't know. I need to get back into more of the releasing my own music. And I do have songs that are recorded and completed. It's just that nervous feeling of like it never feels right. And I imagine that's how you might have felt with Night of Adventure. Like did it ever feel completed to you? Did it ever feel like it was all the way done, or did you just finally say, screw it, like I'm just going to go for it?
Screw it.
Yeah. So that's what you have to do. I just need to be brave enough to actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of it being completed, but I mean, there's like all the nitpicky stuff where I'm like, well, if somebody notices this or that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the episode's coming out this week with Michael. Because I recorded with him yesterday. He and I were talking about how I noticed something within our last screen, like when it was screening on his festival.
Mm-hmm.
There's a boom and one shot like a boom shadow, and I'm like,
What?
how have I
Where?
not noticed? It's when Emily and Casey are walking in the dark, like right before they go to the cop station.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, have you ever done anything illegal? Right? There's a
Yeah,
boom
yeah, yeah.
shadow on the left side. I'm just
I
like,
didn't notice it either.
yeah. And so I'm just like, how have I not noticed this? And I've seen this movie so many times because, like, like I put it together. Like I should have seen that. I should have
Yeah.
like zoomed in somehow to like crop that out. But I was just like, oh my God, that is in there. That's there permanently.
You're like, that's never going away. Like that's there for forever there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's
It's
like,
kind of like, it's kind of like you probably got so hyper focused on what you were editing at that time, like that it just slipped through the cracks.
yeah. Well, and Michael was saying that like people could brush it off as being like, because it's at night and we're using street lights and it could just be
Yeah,
a
it could be
shadow or
anything.
anything. And I'm like,
Sure.
yeah, but like I know that shape. Like,
You're like,
I
I
know
know.
that's where the sound guy was standing. He was like almost standing in the middle of the street. Like I know that. I remember that.
You're like, I'm never going to live that down. 10 years from now or 5 years from now, when you're super successful, you can be like, remember that one time I did that short film and there was a boom mic in there? Yeah.
Exactly. And like I don't mind it though. Like I mean, then I did, but like now I'm just like, it's there. Like
Not the worst thing.
no, a little bit of me died probably seeing that, being like, how did I miss that? But then like also it's been out for like almost a year and a half now. And like
No
it's been
one said
2 years
anything
since we
about it.
shot it. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just like, and that's the thing too, is like sometimes you get like I'm sure you can relate, is like when you promote your own stuff, it gets very tiring at points. And you're just like, I gotta move on. Like I gotta put this away and go on to something better, So that's
And
the
you've
point I'm at with
listened to
this.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you probably have listened to it and watched it so many times at that point. You're like, is this even good? Like, I've watched this about 10,000 times. Is this trash? I don't even know what's happening anymore. That's how I am with my own songs. I'll be like, I've listened to this so many times now. I'm like, what even is this? Like, is this even a melody? Is this even good? What is happening?
It's exactly how it goes. And it even goes the same thing with podcasts because I don't edit them as much as I used to when it first started, because when it first started it was like all in person. Like there's definitely that in person.
Thank you, Corona.
Yeah, and so I had to switch to online stuff. And if I edit the audio in that, then I have to edit the video because the Zoom gives me the opportunity to do video, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
That's the downside of being in person is I don't have that setup. So it's like a win-lose kind of situation. And
You're
so,
like, thank you, I guess.
yeah. And I told Michael this, that like sometimes if I have to edit audio on Zoom, I had to figure out how to edit the video then. And like, I'd be like, oh, I figured out how to do like a freeze frame kind of thing where it looks like a lag, where I get away with it and looks continuous. And and then I start overthinking that. I'm like, or what, they know that? Then I'm like, dude, it's fucking Zoom. It's a podcast.
You're like, this is a podcast. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. So that's the
Well,
thing.
you
And same
have all
thing.
these like huge shows, like E Network and all these different shows. They're all doing all of this over Zoom as well. So I mean, it's kind of cool.
Are they doing Zoom? I don't have live TV, so I have no idea what everybody's doing.
Yeah, so they're like E News is doing it all over like Zoom stuff, and I only know this because of social media, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're all following all the same protocols as well. So.
Well, I bet California's super strict on it.
Yeah, Utah,
Maybe.
I think, has been one of the most lax states out of all of it. I mean, we won't get into politics in a podcast, but
No, they've been pretty lax, and
yeah.
I don't know. There's people who are out there shooting, which I think is great, and they've invited me, and I've declined just because I'm like, no, I'm good. It's not worth it for me. Not for me. But yeah, fuck Corona.
Right, that's all I can say at this point, man. Fuck you, Rona.
Well, it's because I was also thinking, because like since Corona hit, I mean, I co-host another podcast with Patrick Beatty, like the Gaggle of Geeks, and him and I were talking about. I think I sent him like a screenshot of how many movies I've actually watched since quarantine, and it's been like over 80. Like it's a lot. Yeah. And I'm like, if this Corona thing did not happen, that would have been like halved probably. Yeah. And because I'm like, why is it so much now? It's because every Friday night I used to go out with friends, and like go to bars or go to restaurants and eat and like talk about movies and like intermingle. And now I just sit on my couch and drink wine and watch movie after movie after movie.
You're like, this is the life right here.
Yeah. And my one big beef with my apartment is that it doesn't have a patio, like a balcony. And I'm like, this would be so great if I had a balcony, because I could like sit outside and read a book with wine. Like that would be the life. But
actually enjoy it. See, it didn't change that much for me. Oh man, I've always been a little bit of a homebody. I've always liked staying home. I mean, I enjoy going out sometimes, but if I had the choice to stay home and watch a good movie or do that, I think I would almost pick that. So for me, when this all hit, it wasn't too much of a transition. There was obviously things that changed, and some things I was like, man, this freaking sucks. But yeah, it wasn't that big of a transition for me. But I think that this was a good opportunity for everyone to really get comfortable with themselves. Yeah. Like there was less distractions for people. Work all of a sudden changed. Like people had to spend more time with their family. They had to get creative. They had to actually go outside. Like God forbid we go outside and get fresh air. So I don't know. I think it had some positive benefits on just people in general.
Oh, for sure. It's just very inconvenient.
Yeah. This is me trying to look at the glass half full. Desperately trying to look at any glass half full.
Oh, you're not wrong. I mean, I even did a vlog about how I'm being more creative in quarantine. It was like 3 weeks into quarantine. I'm like, yeah, we could all like reflect on this and like realize there's something bigger. And then when I watch that now, I'm just like, oh boy, you had no idea what was in store like 3 months down the road.
You're like, you didn't realize it was going to be August and you're still going to be stuck in your apartment.
So, seriously. And like me being a movie buff, I miss theaters, number one. And like Tenet got pushed back, but now it's being released in Europe, which depresses me because I'm like, they're going to see it before us. And then my last hope is Dune, which isn't due till December. But if that gets pushed back, I will cry. I've already told Patrick that I would cry when I see that trailer, because it's gonna be like the most hope I've had like all year of like movies. Like yes, this is what we needed. But I don't know. Speaking of though, I don't know if this is a bad segue. It's probably a bad segue. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's fine. Your podcast. You do what you want, Chaz.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You have appeared on Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yes, only a very small part in one of them. I was so excited. It was a Lifetime movie, actually, where I had my first one, and it's on Amazon Prime. Woo woo! And I got to have this one little line, and I was a waitress, and I was so excited. And then actually recently I did another production. It was again just a really small part, but my character's name was Jocelyn, and I had a pretty small speaking part. But I figure, tiny steps is better than where I started, which was in background. So I'm working my way up slowly, and I don't know if they have anyone that has bought it out yet, but I'm assuming it'll probably be bought out by Hallmark or Lifetime. That's pretty typical for the movies filmed in Utah.
Yeah, because you made a post about it a few months ago.
Yeah.
It was probably a few months ago.
Yeah.
I actually shared that with my stepmom because she's a huge Hallmark fan, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is right up your alley, right? So I'm like, hey, I've worked with her. She's in my short. How great is this?
How cool is that? I know. It's so funny to me because, like, looking back, if I could tell myself 3 years ago that this is where I would be, I don't think I would have believed it, or I would have been like, oh, like, that's amazing. I would have been like, look at all the progress you've made. But where I'm at now, it never feels like I'm making progress fast enough. And I'm sure you can relate to this, where you're like, why is it going so slowly? Like, I should be doing this by now. I should be here by now. But like 3 years ago, if I had told myself this is where I'd be, I would have been ecstatic. So I try not to hyper focus on that and instead just keep moving forward. But I think as an artist, it's just really difficult, this industry, because there's no straight path. Like, you can't go to college and get a degree and secure a job and work your way up. Like, that's not even close to how it works. Like this, you have to really slowly go up, and then you crash and burn, and then you're like, oh, I got a good part, and then you're like, oh, I suck. Like, it's very much, yeah.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point though, because 3 years ago, that is when we met, right? For 2017.
Yeah.
See, time flies. It feels like yesterday for me. Like, so, but you're right, because that's before even that's before we even shot my short. And I thinking about it back then, like, I don't think I would have ever even considered finishing a short by that time.
Yeah.
Even without that, like, have it win a couple of awards at short or at festivals, and like,
right.
I'm just like, okay, like, so, like, you are right. Like, this is success.
Yeah.
In some form. And I'm guilty of falling into that category of being hyper focused. For a while, I felt so burned out and jaded about film that I wanted nothing to do with it on Facebook. So I unfollowed a lot of film people, which I regret, because it's great seeing them. So I had to go back and follow them after, because I'm like, this is great. You guys are keeping me afloat and all the mess. But I think recognizing how, because there's warning signs of like when I'm about to burn out, right? Like there's feelings of being jaded. There's feelings of over focusing, like,
yeah.
And so being able to recognize that, at least you can protect yourself down the road and expect it to happen. It's not going to happen just once, like you said. It's going to be
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why in this industry, you have to truly love what you do. If you don't really, really love what you do, then you're going to get burnt out really fast, because if you're doing it just for the money or for the fame, that is not enough to keep you going through all the ups and downs, because there's going to be so many ups and downs. And yeah, I think that in particular, like myself, I have had so many times where I'm like, why am I doing this again? Like, I feel very discouraged, either someone or some production, or I've not felt good enough, or I haven't been booking jobs. And I'm just like, remind me why I'm doing this. But then I always go back to specific moments when I've been on set, and I try to remember these moments, like where I'm the happiest I've been, or when I feel really, really great. I'm like, just remember this moment when you feel super shitty, Mary, because this is like what you're living for right here.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
What's the time that you've actually been like at your lowest point?
Just one time? My gosh.
One time, 2 times? How many times?
Man, honestly, it was probably last year. So, middle of last year, maybe. I had a few different circumstances with some production teams, and they were all outside of Utah, so they weren't Utah based. So anyone watching this is not about you. You think it is, it's not. No. Anyways, I had just had a few experiences that were really discouraging, and I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I was never going to be good enough. And I got in this really, really bad habit of comparing myself to people on social media. So Instagram especially, man, everyone wants to have the perfect life and we want to have this like perfect filter and I got so caught up in that I wasn't even enjoying like real life. I was so focused on the fake social media aspect of things that I wasn't even living anything. So took a little bit of a break. My husband and I went to Europe and we spent a lot of time in England and a lot of time in Scotland. And that gave me a chance to really take a 100% step back because I couldn't get on social media. I was out of country. I didn't even have service to call anyone. So that gave me the opportunity to really step back. And then it sounds stupid, but when I came back, I stopped using filters. I think filters, especially on Snapchat, are really, really, really bad for people's self-confidence because it's not even an accurate representation of what a human being looks like. And then I just started trying to follow more real people on social media, and that helped a lot. Stop comparing, stop getting sucked into that side of things. But
No, that's actually really relevant with like what I'm not going through right now, but kind of question because a couple days ago or yesterday I posted like how do artists use Facebook, because there's like a weird thing where like artists are like in the spotlight, but then people aren't, and the people who aren't can get away with a lot more than those who are in the spotlight, because if you're in the spotlight, there's a chance it could ruin your career or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's always something that could come back and haunt you. And so I'm like, it's weird how toxic social media is. And it's not just can be. I mean, it is toxic. And like there's ways you could go about it to not let it be toxic, but like, you have to first acknowledge that it is toxic,
I have done that so many times and it's usually at night when I can't sleep and my insomnia kicks in and I'm sitting there overthinking every choice I've ever made in my life. And then I'm like thinking about anything I could have possibly ever posted on social media or done or said. And then 10 years from now, it's going to come back to bite me in the ass. I think that's a real fear for anyone who is building a career in this industry. Like everything is documented. Everything is so very public. Like I get that 100%.
Yeah, well, because Facebook offers the memories, I've actually deleted stuff because I've posted in the past.
Oh, absolutely. I've done that so many times.
And not only because like it could come back and haunt me, it's also because I'm like, dude, like what the fuck were you thinking, number one?
Right.
Like, seriously?
I hate that. Yeah.
And Facebook is the one I've had the longest. So there's more history there. And Twitter, I think I'm on my second Twitter. So, but I'm always paranoid. I'm like, there's stuff that I've probably said on Twitter that definitely will come back and bite me in the ass.
Yeah.
But there's also that part where it's like, being young is one thing. And just acknowledging that like, nobody's perfect, So if it does, like, you're like, well, there it is. Like, that's the thing. I don't know. Yeah, that is a thing.
And nobody is perfect. And this is why I try not to judge anyone, because we're constantly evolving. One, two, human beings in general, we're just like, we're really imperfect. We're not ever going to be perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all human. I think that if we can try and be gentle with ourselves when it comes to that, I mean, I'm the worst person with that. 100% guarantee worst person when it comes to that. But yeah, I refuse to have a Twitter because I'm like, no, not making that choice. I don't have a Snapchat either for the same reason. And so Instagram and Facebook, even those two things, man, the memories I both love and hate. I'm like, oh, such a fun memory. And then I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? Delete. Yeah.
Yep. Relatable.
Because, you posted about this on Facebook yesterday, I think, about if you feel like social media is needed for this industry, right? Did you post that yesterday?
Yep.
And it is something that has been constantly going through my mind as well, where there's been so many times where I'm like, I want to delete all my social media. I don't even want it anymore. I don't like using it. I hate how I feel. Like I spend too much time on it. And then the other side of me that's like, oh, well, you might miss out on opportunities. What if someone wants to work with you and they saw you through Facebook and now they can't get a hold of you? Or like, what if there's a really big casting and you only would have seen it through one of the pages? So it's like a love-hate relationship with social media.
It is. And I've thought about just like logging out of it daily and just logging in at like once a night or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing with that is I have the podcast page to run as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only access that if my Facebook page is active.
So you have no choice.
I have no choice but to go through with it. And then my Twitter, I just shit post on Twitter. So like, but Twitter is actually where I get all my news information. Yeah. Well, and like nobody follows me on Twitter. So I mean, and there's like a lot of, I just talk shit on movies on Twitter. Like that's all I do. Or that's also where because I've gotten political on Facebook, which I don't like because I have a lot more influence on there than I do Twitter. So Twitter is actually where I go like full on political.
Yeah.
And like, I even like feel so negative posting about that stuff. I'm just like, I don't like it. But then I use Twitter to actually interact with people because like there's like a random message group that do you know Lorenzo Silva?
He was in Night of Adventure, right?
Yeah. So he added me to this group of these random people on Twitter that I don't think any of us knew each other, and we all just like talked about movies. And to this day, it still goes on daily. Where we just
amazing.
Yeah, just talk shit on movies. Like it's so fantastic. Yeah, and so I'm like, see, Twitter is great for that sense, where it does connect you, And I've interacted with a lot of artists on Twitter for that sense too, and even Facebook. I've added people on Facebook and they've liked the podcast page, and then it starts that whole thing like, hey, you should be a guest on this, and so in that sense it is promoting your work. And even for you, like I saw your music through Instagram. It was Instagram stories of all things, and here we are on the podcast because I saw that.
It's hard too. I feel like there's a fine line between wanting to have a good persona and wanting people to see your success. And I think on social media, perception is key. You want people to take you seriously, but at the same time, you don't want to be fake. You don't want to be one of those people that like walks past a film set and is like, oh, on set today, and taking a video, and then you just like aren't even actually on that set. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be more self-important than you are, but you also like want people to take you seriously. So it's such a thin line to have to walk, I feel like.
No, it really is. And a thing I've noticed on Facebook is like a lot of the Facebook influencers, like all these magicians or comedians or whatever, right? They all follow the same trend of pulling these pranks. And the pranks are even original because like a few days before that, you'd see the prank from another influencer, and then it just gets repeated. And all the comments just feed into it. Like they don't realize like this isn't original at all. And they're doing it for the clickbait. And it's all clickbait is what it is.
Yeah.
And even on YouTube, I don't know. Do you watch much vlogs?
Not really.
And so there's like 3 vloggers that I actually follow in there. It's because they have actually produced some quality content, and like they actually do tutorials on videos, which I think is really cool.
Okay.
But a lot of the times there's other vloggers who will try to copy that style and then just do it for the clickbait. Like it's all clickbait. The other vloggers will admit, they're like, look, this is clickbait. Like this is the point of this video. Like, boom.
Like we don't even care at this point.
Yeah. Like they're like, look, we know you're going to view it. Here's the clickbait. Like, yeah, click on this link. We get some money from it. Like they're upfront about it. I'm like, that's what I appreciate is the transparency. If you're not being transparent about it, then that's when it's kind of like, okay, like what's your angle at this shadiness?
You're like, don't be shady. Don't love that. It's like Instagram. They started making people that are getting paid start putting paid promotion on their posts now. So people don't feel like they're being lied to. But there is still those people that are like, I've been using this product for 3 months. And you're like, I know you have never used that product one time. Don't lie to me.
You're like, I know that product. You have not been using that.
I know that product. That's not even how you use that product, actually.
Well, and some of the vloggers follow, like Sony will give them cameras, or Canon will, and they'll shoot on it for a couple months. And then when they announce the release, they're like, here's our video and our review of this. People are like, you got paid for it. And then they're like, no, like, honestly, like they give us the camera to review and here's our honest review. Like,
yeah, like that's how I really feel.
Good sides, here's the bad sides. But what those vlogs mentioned is like, because like in the film industry, there's like a huge thing with cameras. Like, oh, what'd you shoot on? Like, tell us the dirty details of what you shot on. And the most common one is the most common one is DSLRs because they're probably the most affordable because video cameras can get very expensive, like especially if they're meant for cinema.
Yeah.
And the thing that these vloggers point out is that like DSLRs are first and foremost photography cameras. they're not going to meet the qualifications for video. They're not going to satisfy video nerds to a T.
You're like, well.
Yeah, and I'm like that's correct because like the reason I bought my DSLR is because I like photos too. If I didn't like photos, I'd have a whole different camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just interesting. I like transparency with people, and I feel like social media does not offer that easily.
It's hard. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's a fine line to try and walk on the whole social media aspect of things.
Yeah. So I think I should do a challenge for you though.
Okay. Oh boy, I'm nervous. What kind of challenge?
You should release a couple of your songs.
Oh man, I know.
Just do it. Do it like a September, October surprise release. You know.
Just bite the bullet. An end of summer, just really go out with a bang.
Why not?
You know, you're 100% right, and I have been thinking really heavily on this. I need to just go ahead and do it. I even have my artist account set up. Like I have on Spotify my artist account. Like I've had all of this set up for a really, really long time. I just haven't freaking done it.
Just do it. Like the only loss you're getting from this is wondering like, well, what if, right? But
you're 100% right.
I mean, it's hypocritical of me, honestly, because like there's stuff I haven't even released, but
whatever. You're going to listen to one of those songs and you're going to be like, man, it's no wonder she didn't release it. What was she thinking? This is awful.
No, because I don't know if you know this. So for Night Adventure, I had Carl Ricky do a song for one scene, right? Because I think working with local artists is great. Like, just working with locals because like it's kind of like the mindset of, hey, if you let us shoot in your restaurant, you know, you'll be seen in our movie, but you're helping us, but we're also helping you. Like it's like helping locals with locals, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that.
And so if you do that, then like there's a more possibility of not even just like acting, but there's also like it broadens your horizons. You know, you're like, oh yeah, I act, I model, and I also sing. Like I make music.
Okay, well, when I release one, I'm gonna come back on your podcast and I'm gonna be like, listen, did that for you.
Do it. I've challenged somebody else to do vlogs. I don't know if he's done vlogs yet. He's curious about it with camera gear. It was like episode 3. I think it was Gabe.
I feel like I need to challenge you to do something now. Like you challenged me to release some of my songs. Man, what should I challenge you to do?
Let's do it.
Oh man, gotta make this good. I challenge you to. You keep saying, when people are saying, a sequel, and you say no, but something better, I challenge you to actually do that something better. And soon.
Who says I haven't yet? Maybe that's the script I was working on.
Is it?
I don't know. The script I was working on is kind of personal. Like there's like a lot of personal themes in it. And I'm like, when it gets that deep with me and like when I actually like resonate with it in that level, like, yeah, I'm like, this is something better. Because it reflects on like past projects and then how I love that here. Because the thing that's better, I'll say this: my next project, I want to be a feature. Okay. Because Night Adventure was 36. Well, it's 36 minutes, right? 37 minutes. It was pushing it. It was like pushing the 40-minute mark. Yeah. And it was my first short film that I ever released like that. You know, like it wasn't like some Facebook video. And I'm like, if I could do that, why can I not take it further?
Why
so that
not?
is my promise, is that I will do a feature next.
I love that. Okay, holding you to that. I don't know when,
but it's going to be there. It's going to be there.
That's your challenge.
If you get a call, like a casting call, you're going to be like, holy shit, Chaz.
I would love that. If you do not at least put out a casting call, I will be an 80-year-old woman. I'll do the old makeup. I will be I'll work with you. Hey, I've actually been getting into trying to get into the crew side of things as well.
Oh, have you?
So, I kind of want to have a respect for every job in the film industry. So being an actor, it's cool and all, but I feel like if I can understand other people's jobs, I can respect their time and their effort and just have a more well-rounded balance, like in the film industry. So yeah, I've been trying to get into the crew side of things a little bit, honestly.
That's good to know. So anybody listening, Mary Hall is trying to learn. Yeah. That's great.
Put me on as your PA.
That's great. I've actually been reached out to be an actor for some stuff, and I'm like,
do it.
Acting?
Why not?
Really? What? Dude,
acting is so freeing. Here's the thing about acting. You can be really, really shy, and still be a phenomenal actor. And it's because it takes the pressure off of you as a person. When you're an actor, you get to be that person. You don't even have to worry about what people think because like you're not even being you, you're being that character.
Touche. I have nothing else to say to that, but
Yeah.
but I know you have to get going soon.
Oh no, I'm good. We're good. No worries.
You good?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then in that sense, okay, what have you actually accomplished by pursuing being an actor, model, or an actress, model, and singer, musician? Like, what have you accomplished by doing all this, being so jack of all trades? You know.
What do you mean though? Like in what aspect? Like in life in general?
Let's talk like on a, like first like on a personal level, and then like how it's actually like branched into your everyday life. You know, like
Yeah.
how's it changed from when you first started to like where you are now? Kind of like what you kind of touched on.
Well, a lot of people, when I first started getting into acting and modeling, my family especially was pretty concerned about how it would be on mental health. And I think that that's a valid concern. You face a lot of criticism in this industry. It's very focused on your body. And I know it's different for males versus females. Being a female in this industry, there's a lot of pressure as far as like, you know, what you look like and your weight and X, Y, and Z. And so a lot of people were really worried when I first got into it about how it would affect like my self-esteem and everything like that. But since I've started acting, man, I feel great. I feel like I've come into me, you know, and there's not to say that there's not bad days where I'm like, why am I an actor? You're like the shittiest actor that ever existed. Or like, you're never going to be that good of a singer. I think everyone has that though. But it's just gotten more fun. I've become more comfortable with who I am, my abilities, everything like that. So personally, it has been really beneficial for me, I feel like. Man, what was your other one you were saying? You said personally and then
Personal, and then like how it's affected your like everyday life.
Everyday life.
So like when you before you got into it, you know, like there's how you used to be. That's kind of a weird abstract idea, but like how you viewed things then versus how you view things now. I mean, of course it's going to shape you in some way, but like how has that shaped you? Like your outlook of doing things?
So many different ways. Like literally every aspect of my life that could have changed did change when I started getting more into acting. I've honestly developed like this really awesome mindset, and this is what I try and tell like to my younger siblings or anyone that wants to get into this. I'm like, don't limit yourself. I think that's the one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is don't put a limit on where you can go or what you can do or how fast you can accomplish it. Like, just really let yourself believe in anything that you want to believe in. Like, in life, it sounds so cheesy, but you can literally do whatever you want. If you feel overwhelmed, get a one-way plane ticket somewhere else, get a job, and like, just figure it out. Like, you have so many options available to you as of, like, what you can do. And if there's ever a day where I've been having a bad day, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a one-way bus ticket and I'm going to take that all the way to, you know, Illinois, Michigan, I don't know, and just like go and live my life there for a while. I think that my mindset as far as like what I can accomplish in life, that's definitely changed a lot and gotten better.
Have you been to Illinois?
No. This just came to mind.
I haven't been there either. I hear some interesting things of how cold it is, especially Michigan, especially during the fall.
Freezing.
Yeah. That's like the opposite of where I would go personally if I had a one-way.
But the thing is that the option is open to you to go.
Just go to Canada. Just like move over there.
Canada. Yeah,
just move past Illinois. Speaking of, how's Scotland?
Scotland is the most amazing place I've ever been to in my life. Genuinely, I believe that. It is probably the prettiest place that has existed ever in the world. I'm going to say something controversial, okay?
Okay, let's hear it.
We did England and Scotland, right?
Okay.
I could have done without going to London at all. I think London is so overrated. Yeah, I said it. I know, I know. I'm gonna have people coming after me like, are you kidding me right now? But Scotland is just so beautiful, and it was so good for my creativity. Like I felt the most creative and inspired that I've probably ever felt when I was there. I mean, when we were like, so we started out in Edinburgh, and we were there during the Fringe Festival. And the Fringe Festival is like this international arts festival. So there's shows and there's people from all over the world that they come and they like do these festivals. And then from there we went up to Inverness, which is like the gates to the Highlands.
Yeah.
So everyone has like their really thick fur, and their road signs, they actually write them in English and they write them in Gaelic. So it's really fascinating. We got to see like the Loch Ness, like where the Loch Ness monster is, and we went to 18 different castles, which was incredible. The history, like, is just so good for your creativity. And then we made our way back down the eastern coast of Scotland, and it's just so beautiful. So you have these huge castles that were just built on like these cliffs, and there's these huge rocks coming out of the water with like grass all over them, and it's so serene and beautiful. Honestly, I can't picture a more beautiful place.
That's actually on my to-go list.
Oh, go.
That's where my family's from, for the most
Really?
part. Yeah. Fun fact: my
Fun fact.
last name was Campbell
Okay.
originally,
Yeah.
and then I took on Evans later on in life. But yeah, I found out Campbell is a very disliked name in Scotland because the family raped and murdered other people's
Oh my gosh.
families after they took them in. Yeah.
That's oh. So
And,
don't
like,
ever tell anyone that you're a Campbell if you go to Scotland.
that's what my aunt told me. So she told me that if anybody ever asks what their last name was, they say something else that's not Campbell.
Wow.
And like a lot of the restaurants there will apparently like have no Campbells allowed. Like there's still like hatred for
Really?
that family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. You know, I really liked Scotland as well, and Europe in general, because you walk everywhere essentially. When you're in the towns, you walk everywhere. You walk to the pubs, you walk to, it's just so quaint, and the history there is so rich. I mean, America is such a new country compared to like Europe. The other cool thing, they don't have like dishwashers really. They don't have like dryers. They all hang up their stuff to dry still. Like it's just so quaint and cozy. I loved Scotland so much. So buy a ticket, like get online, just pick a day next year and be like, yep, I'm there.
I'm there.
Yep.
Do they speak Gaelic in Scotland, or is that more in like
So
Ireland area?
if you went into like the northern Highlands, so like past Inverness, like way up into the Highlands, they still do, but it's more just like the traditional, they want to pass it down to their family. When you get into southern Scotland, like Edinburgh and through there, they don't. They're like, whatever.
That's interesting. Because I know. So have you seen Is it the Outlander? That
Outlander? Yes,
show?
I have, and I went to 2 castles where they filmed that at while I was there. Thank you very much.
So it was during one of my moments of being trying to be like a romantic poet, right? Like one of these nights. And I'm like, how would you say like my love or something in Gaelic, like some sort of ancient language? And you can make that into like I don't know, like a cute little poem or whatever, you know?
I love that.
And
Chaz, this is so cute.
the guy was the actor from the show. I don't remember his name, but they're like, how do you say this in Gaelic? And he's like, oh, and then he said it. I don't remember how to say it. And like, if I did, I would butcher it because it's such a cool accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my fun story about Gaelic. That's the reason I asked that, because that whole thing. I did research Gaelic at one point.
I only know one word in Gaelic, and it's essentially cheers, right?
Okay.
So it's I'm probably gonna butcher it, but Salanche. It's like Slainte. It's like Salanche or something like that. But yeah, it's essentially cheers. So before they drink their drams of scotch, which they take their Scotch whiskey very seriously over there, before they drink it, they would say that Salanche.
So their Scotch whiskey, is it like, do they drink it with like on the rocks, or do they drink it neat?
No, neat.
Damn.
Yeah. So when you're in pubs and stuff, they don't shoot their liquor. If you were to shoot the liquor, they'd be like, that is unacceptable. So yeah, they drink them, and they don't have shot glasses. They have like drams, and yeah, they just sip it neat.
That's, I mean, with Scotch, have you had Scotch? I'm assuming you've had Scotch.
Yeah. So we dined at the Edinburgh Castle, and they gave us like the real deal. It was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, Scotch isn't a drink you'd want to down anyway because it's kind of a different taste
than smoky
whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one night I got drunk, intoxicated a little bit while watching Lord of the Rings while drinking Scotch. And that's when I found, and like I did research, right? Like like on the internet, I'm like, how do people drink Scotch? Because you don't mix it. That's not a drink you mix. That's like one of the drinks that you have
like a no-no if you were to mix that.
Yeah, and I was on some of these forums, and they were saying that like if you put on the rocks, what the water does is it actually releases some more of the smell and the taste, and like that's why they swirl it if you put it on the rocks. But if you drink it neat, then like you just get the full thing. Like it's not watered down essentially. So
I think it's like with anything, it's probably personal preference, but yeah, it was. I have to say, it was really good.
I'm jealous. I that's on my to-do list. Like when I have time, that is on my to-do list.
Yeah, and when I'm so excited, I can't even talk. We stayed at Airbnbs our entire time we went through Europe, and one of the Airbnbs up in Inverness, so like northern Scotland, our Airbnb, they included like a little thing of whiskey and like these little tea cakes, and it was freaking awesome. I'm like, this is the best ever.
Not like the US at all, huh?
No. And then like on their trains and stuff, because you take trains across Europe, the other popular thing was gin, right? So I became a really big gin fan too.
Gin,
yeah. Especially popular in England.
That's an acquired taste. I would argue. It's kind of like
I love it.
Black tea. You just kind of an acquired.
I love black tea too, so
there you go.
So it works.
For the longest time, I actually hated coffee, but now I'm a coffee fanatic, and I drink mine black. I don't put any sugar in it. So.
Oh well, I'm not that hardcore with my coffee, but I do love a good coffee.
Oh, coffee's great, but nerding out about Europe, that's fun.
I know.
My love, it's Mo Gras, but like I don't know how you put the Gaelic.
Mo Gras?
Yeah.
Oh.
I will send you the video of him saying it because like he says it very seductively. He like he's just like this lady's like, how do you say it? And he's like, Mo Gras, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, I love that.
What?
I actually watched the first 2 seasons of Outlander, and I never made it past the first 2 seasons. I have this thing where I start shows and I never finish them. So.
Well, there you have it. All right, we can start wrapping this up.
Okay.
I'm gonna end you with 2 notes.
Okay.
Maybe just one. I think you answered one of these. You kind of answered it. I'll just end it with one more thing. Miss Mary Hall, how do you hope that you can inspire others?
Inspire others. I kind of touched on this a little bit. I think my main thing is, like, as someone who's dealt with depression and anxiety, I get it, how it feels like when you want to give up on life, or that things start to feel so overwhelming and you feel trapped, or you feel like your history or how you were raised or the parents you have, there's so many different things that just make you feel like you're never going to make it, you're never going to be good enough, and it gets to be a lot, and you feel like giving up is easier and more of a relief than pushing on. And I feel like my main thing is I just want to show people, and like I had said before, that like you can literally do anything you want to do in life, go anywhere you want to go, be anything you want to be. Don't let what other people think hold you back. And when you start to feel like really overwhelmed like that, just remember that. I don't know. I think that's the one thing that I always try and get people to remember. And the other thing is I just want to make a positive influence in the world. I think that a lot of people, when they think of fame, they think of the money and the traveling. And while that's good and all, I would much rather be well known and have enough influence where I could just positively change the world. And I don't know how that's going to come about, but I hope it does.
Well, I think you're doing that every day. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Very much look forward to all of your posts and your like just speaking to you right now. And there's like a lot of positive outlooks, right? And I'm just like, damn it, Mary, this is why you're great. Like, I think anybody who's blessed to work with you, like, should be grateful. So.
Aw, stop it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I try and focus on the positive, and I hope that shines through. I hope I can keep being that person. So.
Hell yeah, you have like the hell yeah, do it.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
So, all right.
Awesome.
What's your plugs? Where can people find you? Where can people soon find music?
Oh man. So a lot of people call me Miss Mary, right? So on Instagram, the full thing is it's me, Miss Mary. ITSMEMISSMARY. Don't know why I sang that. Facebook, Mary Hall, Mary Beach Hall. IMDb, Mary Hall. Help me boost that score up so I can audition for some bigger movies.
Okay, does IMDb have a huge like thing to do with that?
So IMDb, I've gotten a few auditions through IMDb actually, weirdly enough. Yeah. And the thing about IMDb is if your score is not low enough, because the lower your score, the better, right? I think you have to hit like 50,000 or under for a certain amount of movies, 25,000 and under, and then 10,000 and under. And once you hit 5,000 and under, I think you're considered like A-list. So once you hit under 25,000, which I have done that one time, I was very excited about it. Then you can start auditioning for bigger movies. They'll be like, hey, you can audition for this if your score is currently below 25,000, right? So, I mean, that's always something I'm like keeping an eye on. I'm like, yes.
I had no idea. I thought IMDb was just to find some fun movie facts or
weirdly enough.
Adding a movie to IMDb, not through a festival, by doing it like independently, is the biggest pain in the ass ever.
I believe it. Even trying to get your movies under one name on IMDb is the biggest pain in the ass.
I bet. And like, yeah, fuck.
Really?
I think I had to fix yours on mine because I like registered it wrong.
I think you did. It's all right. Whatever. It's fine.
That's IMDb. I tried my best, but pain in the ass. But I didn't know that you could get auditions to it. So because I've always wondered, because people have posted about like what their star ratings are, like the star meter is what they call it.
That's why they care, because when your star rating gets to a certain amount, it means you have a lot of like titles that are being added. It means that you're connecting with other actors where they're doing really good. So it all kind of just plays together. But yeah.
Does the IMDb rating of the project affect that at all?
I'm actually not sure on that. I know for sure your score plays off of however many people are looking you up. So people, casting directors, random individuals, whoever's looking you up is what boosts your score. However many credits or titles you have, that boosts your score. If, say, you are in a movie where you have a really small speaking part with, I don't know, I'm going to throw out a random name, Elijah Wood, right? And Elijah Wood's score jumps up to like 5,000, then that could correlate, if I'm thinking correctly, and like help your score because you guys are attached to the same movie. So the movie's score would go up, and then your score would essentially go up. So yeah, it all kind of just plays together.
The more you know. I had no idea. So that's actually really good to know.
The more you know. So
the more you know.
Me, Miss Mary.
Well, thank you so much. Is that where people can find you on Spotify too when you release?
Oh, Miss Mary. Yeah, Mary. Probably on there just as Mary. And I'll post links on my Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, I think Miss Mary was taken when I originally wanted to be on Spotify. So I had to change it to just Mary.
Like just Mary? Like including just or
No, just Mary. Mary.
Mary.
Yeah.
This is Mary.
It's boring, but whatever.
Mary.
Right, Mary.
That's fun though. But
yeah.
Okay, well, all of that will be in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad I got to catch up with you today. This was awesome.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sorry. The delay was my bad because of last minute work stuff. But
hey,
I'm grateful that you.
No worries. I wasn't able to like the last 3 weeks. So.
No, it's stuff. Life happens, you know. You can find the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. No, yeah, it is on Spotify, Instagram, Google, Apple, anywhere.
All the cool places.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. And Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.